Welcome back to MasterStack. Our last deep dive, we explored OpenShift, right?
Right.
And we saw how it basically takes Kubernetes and then just adds a whole bunch more functionalities on top of it to give us, like, this platform as a service experience.
Yes.
We even peeked at some of the core features that make it stand out, but today, I think it's time to get a little bit more practical.
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually get your hands on OpenShift?
That's a great question.
Because, like, it's not just like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, right?
No, absolutely not.
There are all these different OpenShift distributions.
Right.
It's kind of like, you know, when you open up a toolbox and you've got all the different tools in there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use a hammer to try to screw in a bolt, right?
Exactly.
Each tool has its own specific purpose.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, how do we figure out which OpenShift distribution fits our needs?
Yeah.
Like, where do we even begin with this whole landscape of OpenShift distributions?
Sure.
Is there, like, a major dividing line that helps us make sense of all these options?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the first big fork in the road, if you will, is between Enterprise OpenShift and OKD.
Okay.
So Enterprise OpenShift, this is the paid, commercially supported version from Red Hat.
Got it.
It's the one, it's very robust, feature-rich, and very popular with, businesses.
Okay, so Enterprise OpenShift, that's like the go-to for organizations that have, like, really serious needs.
Exactly.
What about OKD? Where does that fit into all of this?
Right. So OKD is the free and open source, community-driven version of OpenShift.
Oh, good.
Think of it as the independent sibling, the one who likes to do things themselves.
So it's like, this is where people can go to tinker around, experiment, without having to commit financially. Right?
Exactly.
Sounds perfect for learners or anyone who just wants to, like, dip their toes into the OpenShift waters.
It's a great way to get started and to really learn the ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing things get a little bit more nuanced when we start talking about the Enterprise OpenShift side of things.
Yes.
Is there a further split within that category that we need to be aware of?
You're absolutely right. Within Enterprise OpenShift, you have another decision to make, and that is between managed or self-managed.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So let's talk about these two approaches. What's the main difference between managed and self-managed OpenShift?
Okay, so imagine managed OpenShift as having, like, a dedicated team of experts handling all the complex stuff behind the scenes for you. The infrastructure setup, the maintenance, the updates, it's all taken care of. It's like a worry-free experience where you can really focus on your applications.
So it's essentially like outsourcing the management of your entire OpenShift environment to the experts, right?
Exactly.
That sounds pretty appealing, especially for organizations that maybe don't have the in-house expertise or the resources to manage it themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's all about convenience and peace of mind.
Got it. And who are the key players offering these managed OpenShift services? Are we talking about, like, big names that people would recognize?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
You'll find managed OpenShift offerings from some of the biggest cloud providers out there, like Amazon, Azure, IBM.
Those are definitely names that anyone who's even remotely tech-savvy would recognize.
Right.
That definitely gives, like, a sense of credibility and reliability to that managed OpenShift option.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated, which is fully managed by Red Hat themselves.
Okay.
This is like the white glove service where Red Hat takes complete ownership.
Wow.
And they offer guaranteed performance and support.
So if you're an organization with, like, mission-critical applications that demand the absolute highest levels of stability performance,
yes,
Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated seems like it would be a really strong contender.
You got it.
Yeah.
For those who really want the best of the best and to know that their OpenShift environment is in expert hands.
Okay, so now let's flip the coin. Let's talk about self-managed OpenShift.
Yeah.
What does this actually entail, and who might be drawn to this approach?
All right, so self-managed OpenShift, as the name suggests, puts you in the driver's seat.
Okay.
You download the software, you install it, and you manage it on your own infrastructure.
Okay.
Whether that's in the cloud or on premises.
Okay.
It gives you total control over your OpenShift environment.
So this is for the folks who like to tinker, who like to customize, who really want to have complete ownership over their technology stack.
Exactly.
They're not afraid to get their hands a little dirty and actually work with the infrastructure directly.
Yes, it's all about flexibility.
Yeah.
And tailoring OpenShift to your specific requirements.
Got it. But even within self-managed OpenShift, I'm guessing there are, like, different levels of commitment, right?
Yes.
It's not just one, like, massive, complex package.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so walk us through these different tiers then.
Yeah.
What are the options for someone who's diving into self-managed OpenShift?
Okay, so at the most basic level, you have OpenShift Kubernetes Engine.
Okay.
This is like the bare bones option. It gives you the core OpenShift runtime, that's Red Hat CoreOS and the Kubernetes engine.
Got it.
It's a great starting point if you just want to get your hands dirty with the essentials.
So it's like the foundation that you can then build upon and customize further.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the next step up then
Okay.
from OpenShift Kubernetes Engine?
If you want more than the bare essentials,
Yeah.
you have OpenShift Container Platform.
Okay.
So this tier adds more tools and features to help you manage your containers.
Got it.
So you get things like enhanced monitoring, logging, and security features. It makes it a lot easier to handle your containerized applications.
Ah, okay, so it's like adding more specialized tools to your toolbox that allow you to kind of manage those containerized applications in a more intricate, more efficient way.
Precisely.
What about for those who want like the whole shebang?
Yeah.
They want all the bells and whistles that self-managed OpenShift can offer.
Right, so for those who want the most comprehensive package, there's OpenShift Container Platform Plus.
Okay.
This is the top tier option. It's got all the advanced features and functionalities OpenShift has to offer.
Wow, okay.
Designed for large organizations with complex deployments that demand the absolute best.
All right, so we've got OpenShift Kubernetes Engine for the minimalist, OpenShift Container Platform for the pragmatist,
Yeah.
and OpenShift Container Platform Plus for those who really want that, like ultimate power and control.
Exactly.
It's a pretty neat progression, actually.
Yeah, it's a tiered approach
Yeah.
that allows you to really choose the level of complexity and functionality that's right for you.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We started with that initial fork in the road enterprise versus OKD, and then we've explored like all these different paths within each branch. We talked about the convenience of managed OpenShift, the control of self-managed, and then those different tiers within each.
Yeah.
But I think now the big question is, like, how do you actually decide which path is the right one for you?
That's where the real journey begins. Okay, so how do we actually figure out which OpenShift path is right for you?
It's like we've reached this crossroads, and now we need a map to guide us.
Exactly. And the first landmark on that map, if you will, is purpose.
Okay,
What are you actually trying to achieve with OpenShift?
right, the why behind the what.
Yeah.
Like, are you a student who's just exploring container orchestration for the first time?
Right.
Are you a startup that's building some new application?
Right.
Or are you a large enterprise with like mission critical applications that depend on this?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're learning, OKD is like your playground. It's free, it's open source, it's perfect for experimentation.
Okay.
But if you're running a business where any downtime equals lost revenue,
Right.
you're probably going to lean more towards the enterprise options where you have those guaranteed SLAs and dedicated support.
Okay, so you just threw out the term SLAs. Can we define that real quick, just in case someone's not familiar?
Sure. An SLA service level agreement is basically a contract.
Got it.
It guarantees a certain level of performance and availability. Think uptime guarantees, response time commitments, that kind of thing.
So for a business that's relying on OpenShift to power their application, that SLA provides like a layer of assurance, right?
Exactly.
Things are going to work the way they're supposed to.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What's the next landmark on our map then?
All right, so next up we have infrastructure.
Okay.
Where do you want your OpenShift cluster to actually reside?
Okay.
Are you a cloud enthusiast or are you more comfortable with on-premise infrastructure?
So it's like choosing the location for your OpenShift headquarters.
Exactly. If you're cloud-centric,
Yeah.
those managed OpenShift services that are offered by the cloud providers like Amazon and Azure and IBM, those might be a really good fit.
Okay.
They handle all of those infrastructure headaches for you.
Right.
So you can focus on your apps. But if you're an organization that has like existing data centers,
Yeah.
maybe you have a really great IT team that likes to maintain a lot of control, self-managed OpenShift might be a better option.
Right. Gives you the flexibility to kind of manage it on your own terms using your existing infrastructure.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What's next?
All right, so our next stop on this decision-making journey is budget.
Okay.
How much are you willing to invest in your OpenShift adventure?
Okay, so let's be real for a second. Budget's always a factor.
Of course.
And everyone loves free, but sometimes you get what you pay for.
That's true. That's true. OKD is free.
Yeah.
But you're kind of on your own when it comes to support.
Yeah.
Enterprise OpenShift, on the other hand, comes with a price tag,
Uh-huh.
but you gain access to Red Hat's expertise, and you get that peace of mind that we talked about earlier.
And speaking of support, that brings us to our next consideration, right? Which is support and management.
Exactly.
So how much hand-holding do you need?
Do you like tinkering under the hood? Do you like figuring out how to resolve issues yourself?
Yeah.
Or would you rather have someone to call when things go wrong?
Because with managed OpenShift, you've got that team that can jump in and take care of those things, right?
They got it.
Whereas with self-managed, you're the one who's on call.
Right.
Okay, now let's talk about features. This seems like it kind of goes hand in hand with the support discussion. Like,
Yeah.
do you need all the bells and whistles that OpenShift can offer?
Right.
Or are you looking for something a little bit more streamlined?
This is where those tiers that we talked about earlier really come into play.
Okay.
Choosing between OpenShift Kubernetes Engine, Container Platform, and Container Platform Plus,
Right.
it really comes down to what features do you actually need.
Yeah.
It's like choosing a car, do you want the base model? Do you want something mid-range, or do you want it fully loaded?
So if you're just starting out, your needs are pretty basic. OpenShift Kubernetes Engine gives you those core essentials, right?
Right.
But if you have more demanding workloads, you need some very specific functionalities.
Yep.
You might need to step up to one of those higher tiers.
Precisely. And it all comes down to really understanding your application's needs.
Okay, and then finally, we can't forget about integration, right?
Right.
If you're already deeply rooted in a particular cloud ecosystem, like let's say you're all in on AWS or Azure, that's probably going to influence your OpenShift choice.
Absolutely, because they have those managed OpenShift offerings that are specifically designed for those cloud platforms.
Okay.
So you get really seamless integration
Got it.
with all those other cloud services that you might be using.
Okay, so we've navigated our map. We've looked at all these different landmarks. Purpose, infrastructure, budget, support, features, and integration.
Right.
But I'm sure our listeners are now thinking, okay, that's great, but what should I actually do?
Right.
How do we, boil this all down into some actionable guidance?
So let's break it down to a few simple scenarios. If you're a beginner,
Okay.
you're a student, OKD is the perfect place to start.
Okay.
Free, flexible, great for learning the ropes.
Makes sense.
For small to medium businesses,
Right.
starting with self-managed OpenShift Kubernetes Engine could be a good approach.
Okay.
It gives you a good foundation to build on. It allows you to kind of manage those costs.
Right.
And then for our enterprise listeners out there,
Yeah, what about them?
the folks with the really complex requirements and those mission critical applications, it really comes down to control versus convenience.
Okay.
So if you value peace of mind,
Yeah.
you want those experts managing your environment, a managed service like Red Hat OpenShift Dedicated
Yeah.
is probably worth considering.
Got it.
But if you have a really skilled in-house team
Right.
and you need complete control over your infrastructure, self-managed, maybe even OpenShift Container Platform Plus could be the way to go.
So ultimately, it sounds like there's no single right answer.
No.
It's about finding that OpenShift distribution that best fits your particular situation, your
Right.
needs, your goals.
And don't be afraid to kind of reevaluate that choice as your needs evolve.
Right.
The beauty of OpenShift is that it's very flexible and it can adapt to a lot of different scenarios.
Okay, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
We have.
We went from that initial fork in the road
Mhm.
to this whole decision-making roadmap.
Right, exactly.
Hopefully they're feeling more empowered now to kind of explore that OpenShift world.
I hope so.
But choosing the right distribution, that's just the first step, right?
It is.
Once you have that OpenShift environment set up,
Mhm.
you need to understand how it actually works under the hood.
Because knowing the architecture is key to unlocking its true potential.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to dive into in our next episode. We'll be exploring the fascinating world of OpenShift architecture. Okay, anything else?
And finally, understanding the architecture can give you a much deeper appreciation for the power and the flexibility of OpenShift.
Okay.
You can see how it's really designed to handle complex deployments, to scale seamlessly,
Yeah.
and to really support a wide range of applications.
Okay, well, I'm definitely feeling more excited to learn more about the architectural details now.
Good.
It sounds like understanding the why behind the what can really make a big difference in how effectively you use OpenShift.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on MasterStack for this deep dive into the world of OpenShift distributions.
Yeah, thanks for having me.